Hey YouTube, so I just completely disassembled my Mosin Nagant, and now comes the hard part of putting it all back together, which is going to be a ton of fun. Okay, let's get this started. First thing I'm going to want to do is pretty much everything's the opposite of taking it apart. I'm going to want to get this little spring. This is the hardest part of the entire reassembly process. I'm going to want to get this back in here, and let me get the camera here so I can kind of, I didn't get a really good image of how this is done last time. It's going to be really blurry, of course, but there's this little piece right here, and it slides into a little groove in there. You have to get it just right, but it'll do it. Let me put the camera back up here. Okay, let me get this in here, because it takes both hands. You kind of want to push down and then push forward, and get it lined up, and then put the little screw back in it. Remember, this one is the tiniest little screw of the whole disassembly, and it's the biggest pain in the butt to get back in if you don't do it right. Okay, then we have this little part right here. This goes on the, it's what keeps the rounds held down in the clip. So it's a pretty important part. I guess you can mess it all up if you don't have that in it. But the way that you get this in is you don't put it in like this. Like, you don't put it in that way, because the bullets their rims will get hit right there and it'll jam up. You put it in this way. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to lift it up, lift this little spring up, and kind of slide it in. Put your thumb on it and put your other finger like on the other side, and kind of just push it in and adjust everything just right. And it's on. And you can see on the inside and check it and make sure everything's lined up, and that's good. Next thing you're going to want to put on is the trigger assembly. You're going to want to take the little spring and your trigger, and the spring just goes through the trigger right there. It's got a little, trigger has a little like space in it, and that's all you're going to want to do. And then you just put it all right there, and when the spring is right there, the trigger can't come loose, so you can just let it hang there for a minute while you put the bolt in. Or not really bolt, but the screw. And you put the screw right there. You can kind of turn it a few times with your fingers to make it easier. And then you turn it with your handy dandy Mosin multi-tool. Make sure it's pretty tight. And then you get your little pin and you put it in the trigger so that the trigger is nice and steady. So it's all nice and handy dandy. Okay. Now comes the fun part, putting it back in the stock. Make sure the barrel bands are at the very end when you do this. You're going to want to slide the trigger in first. Right like that. And then just push down on the whole thing. And then you want to take this and kind of put this assembly back together. It's pretty easy. Just squeeze down and you push it in a little, like right there, so it pulls it in. And then you take this and you push it back in to the rifle stock. Goes just like that. And then you put the screws in. The long screw goes on the back, and the short screw goes more towards the front. So I'm going to put this long screw in first. Takes quite a few turns to get that sucker in. Make sure it's tight, because that's a really important thing when you're frying it. You don't want it to come loose. And then get the one on this side, which is the shorter one. It's shorter, but it has the same number of threads as the long one. So, and make sure that thing is tight in there. Okay, that's good. Then you're going to want to get your top part of your stock and put it on here. And it just goes right on like that. And then take your big barrel band and you push it down first. And then your smaller one. Just pull it down. And reinsert your bolt. And you're good to go. So there's the complete reassembly of the Mosin Nagant. Thanks for watching.